Now I want to take a look at the 5 most fundamental kicks that you'll see throughout the system. Most of the more complicated kicks are just a combination of these kicks, or one of these kicks incorporating a foot maneuver. But here I just want to look at them in their most basic setting to make sure that we have proper foot formation when striking and proper chambers and re-chambers with the leg. So the first kick I want to look at is the front kick or front snap kick. I'll make you my 12 o'clock. Now I'm going to face you in a left neutral bow. Before I even get started on the feet, I want you to notice my hands. Notice if I'm facing you in a left neutral bow, my left hand is in front and it's a little higher. It's protecting from my solar plexus to my face. My right hand is a little lower and it's protecting from my solar plexus to my groin. So it's further back and lower. Let's do that from a side view. So this is my on guard position. Notice that my elbows are relaxed, they're not up. So my elbows are guarding my ribs and my hands are in this position. Also notice that my hands aren't doing this. They're not so relaxed that the tips of my fingers are facing forward. If I get kicked or punched, good possibility that one of my fingers would get jammed. So I need the heels of my palms facing the front. So this is my on guard position. You may see people, or you yourself may be comfortable with fists. I really prefer the open hand position for a number of reasons. One, I feel there's a higher sensitivity in my hands. I feel like I'm more likely to grab if necessary or pin and check the opponent's arm. But also it's a very unassuming position. If someone is approaching me and I say, "Hey, listen, buddy, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend you. Let's not do this." He doesn't realize it, but my hands are in an on guard position. So it's very not threatening, but it's also very versatile to have your hands in this way. So we're in our left neutral bow. We have our on guard position. And the first kick I want to look at is the front snap kick, which looks like that. I'll do that from a side view. So what's happening there? Well, the first step is to take your front foot, which is on a slight diagonal, and to pivot on the ball of the foot so that your toes are now facing straight. I'll give that a little name. I'll call that opening the gate. What that does is it allows you to turn your hips to face forward, and your back foot can come into this chambered position. Let's try that one more time. Open the gate and lift the knee into a chambered position. Notice my hands didn't change. Don't do this. Don't drop them. Keep them where they are. So I open the gate, I bring this leg into a chambered position, and I extend my foot, straightening the knee and striking out towards the opponent's groin. I can re-chamber and then plant back where I began, and then I close the gate. I turn my front foot back on the diagonal. So I can turn the foot and chamber, I can extend, I can re-chamber, and I can plant back. Now, hopefully the next question that's on your mind is, what part of your foot, what part of my foot am I striking with? Well, let me do this from a side view. I can bring this foot up to chamber and I can extend this way. Notice that my toes are up, they're not pointed. You could point the foot entirely and strike with the tongue of your shoe or the shoelaces up into the opponent's groin this way. The other approach is to kick forward, striking with the ball of your foot into the opponent's groin or bladder or solar plexus. Notice it's not flat-footed. The foot is completely down and the toes are up. It's like you're revving the gas on your car. So that takes a little getting used to. Try some on the left foot. So you can open the gate and chamber, extend, re-chamber, planting down. We'll try that from a side view. Chamber, kick, re-chamber, planting down. Notice I'm doing it very slowly here at the beginning. partly so you can see, but also it's a great exercise for the legs. So I encourage you to do it both slow and fast. The next kick I want to look at is a rear snap kick or a back kick. I'm going to do this from a side view so that you can see. If I make this my 12 o'clock, I'm going to face 12 in my left neutral bow. And we can assume that I have an opponent behind me. One way I can strike him is to take my right foot and to draw it into a reverse cat stance. So I could bring my left into a cat stance facing 12, or I could bring my right foot into a reverse cat stance away from 6. From here, I'm just going to lift my foot, kick towards the opponent's groin. I can rechamber and plant back. I'm going to do that very close to you. So I'm here in stance. I'm bringing that my foot into the cat stance. I'm lifting and I'm extending out. Notice that my toes are pointed straight to the floor. It's not a side kick. It's not a side kick. It's a back kick. So my toes are pointed down and away. The only thing that's making contact with the target is the heel. And rechamber and put it down. Cat, kick, and plant back. Notice my hands. The first step is really to look over the shoulder and to see what's happening behind you. The hands can adjust accordingly wherever they're most comfortable as I ready my foot. Both feet are on the ground because I still want balance and stability. Now, keeping my hips turned over, keeping my shoulder down, I'm going to fire the kick. But notice I didn't look away. Don't look towards the front. Don't look over here. Make sure you have a clear view of what you're kicking at. For the longest time, I'll make you my 6. For the longest time, I really didn't look too closely at where I was kicking, and I ended up doing this. You can see I was kicking nowhere near you. But if I'm looking straight at you, I can kick and be fairly accurate with that. So that is the rear snap kick. Let's make sure that we do both sides. So now I'll make this my 12. I'm in a right neutral bow. I can draw my left into a reverse cat, looking over my shoulder, and from the ground I can fire. And then planting back to my neutral. Cat, kick, back to neutral. So that's a rear snap kick. A third kick I'd like to look at is the snapping knife edge kick, sometimes referred to as a side kick or snapping side kick. Let me demonstrate a few for you. So in this case I'm striking with my lead foot, bringing it towards my knee. Let's look at that chambered position. My foot is already sideways as it's prepared at my knee. Notice my hip, if you were my 12, I'm kicking towards 12, the side of my hip is oriented towards you. And then I'm extending out this way. You see how my foot is oriented horizontally? It's not vertical, but it's horizontal. Also notice that I'm not kicking flat-footed, but I'm kicking with the blade edge. There's a difference. So I want that blade edge, and I'm only kicking with the blade edge of the heel. So don't kick anywhere near your toes. Don't kick with your toes, kick with your heel. So that's the motion there. You can imagine that you're kicking the opponent's knee, perhaps on the outside, or on the inside, or maybe even straight from the front, and you're using that blade edge of your foot. So I'll fire some here from the side view. This will be my 12. I have my chamber, I have my kick, I have my rechamber, and back to my neutral. And then in one continuous motion, there's the kick. Let's try some on the other side. This is now my 12. I have a chamber, a left side kick, a rechamber, and a neutral bow. Make sure that both feet are looking sharp. Make sure that both feet are horizontal. The toes are pulled back. Do that from a side view. The toes are really pulled away, and it's only the blade edge of the heel striking the target. When I was first looking at this kick, I made the mistake of kicking a bag with the part of my foot closer to my toes, and I really sprained my ankle. So you don't want to injure your foot by kicking near your toes. You want to kick exclusively with the heel. When I come back, we'll look at two more kicks, the wheel kick and the roundhouse kick. Next, I want to look at the roundhouse kick. I find that a lot of people are familiar with the name and even with the kick. And most people end up executing something that looks like this. And for the most part, that's correct. What we want is that back foot to swing around into this chambered position. Notice that my ankle, my knee, and my hip are in one plane, and that my lower leg, where my calf is, and my tibia is horizontal. So don't chamber this way, and don't chamber that way, but make this horizontal. Then you can extend, you can rechamber, and then plant forward. So notice how I accomplish that. My bottom foot has to open, just like we opened the gate for the front kick, except in this case it's really going to open. Notice how my toes are pointed towards 9 o'clock or even 7:30 or even 6 o'clock. So my heel of my bottom foot, if you can see it down there, is pointed near you. And that really lets me turn my hip over. Also notice my upper body, my shoulders, are still towards you as much as I can be. So I'm not back here. That really makes me unstable when I fire the kick. And when you try this for the first time, you're going to feel an amazing oblique and latissimus workout. Trying to hold that leg up there. But do it anyways, just hold that. Get the shoulders towards the front, you can see the target, get that ab workout, extend, rechamber, and then plant forward. Let's try some on the other foot. The back leg will swing into the chamber. Notice the path that I'm traveling. It's really sort of coming around the side, kind of like a baseball bat. If I were to swing a baseball bat horizontally, that's how my leg is swinging. It's in the chambered position. My knee is very bent, but it's coming up sideways into this position. And then from here I can extend, I can rechamber, and then I can plant forward into my kick, into my stance. So in one continuous motion, it looks just like that. Now, in some of the techniques I may ask you for a different foot formation. In this particular case, I'll do it from a side view. What I've been doing is pointing the toes, kicking with the tongue or the shoelace of my shoe. So that's one method. The other method is to fully pull the toes and the foot all the way back. So it almost looks like a side kick in the air. But in this case, I'm actually striking with the ball of my foot. So it's like a front kick coming in horizontally, striking with the bottom of my foot, the ball of the foot. Now that can be tricky, because you don't want to hit with the top of your toe, because that would really hurt. But as you'll see in some techniques later on, we'll be striking into the opponent's groin, and that really helps focus the kick. If you can pull the toes towards your knee as tight as you can, and striking in that way, it really hooks around the opponent's leg and strikes directly into the groin, which can be very painful. Whereas if you pointed your foot, you may end up making contact with your entire leg, your shin, your ankle, the top of your foot, and all of that would sort of hit the opponent's abdomen or thighs, and it wouldn't hurt nearly as much as getting one concentrated strike to his groin. So, some good reasons for this foot formation, so do pay close attention. Let's try some on the left side with this new foot formation. So you're going to bring that foot all the way around into the chambered position, except now your toes are pulled as far back as they can be, and you're going to extend out, striking with the ball of the foot. Rechamber, planting forward. Once more on the right side. Chamber, extend, striking with the ball of the foot, and then back down. So try it both ways, toes pointed and then toes pulled back. Now I mentioned one other kick. I mentioned the wheel kick, strikingly similar to the roundhouse kick. Some styles make a big emphasis on this. This is the only way that they throw their kick. this way. We have both, and it really just kind of depends on the circumstance what you're going to throw. The wheel kick looks like this. And you might say, well, Geoff, that was a roundhouse kick. You just showed us the roundhouse kick. Slight difference. The roundhouse kick, if you recall, I had you traveling around the circle, sort of in an arc, coming this way. If I really exaggerate that circle, let me do that one more time. This is the roundhouse kick, coming this way. The wheel kick, I want you to come straight up the center like a front kick. And at the very last moment, you're going to pop the hips over and execute. So it's very slight. Again, the roundhouse kick comes taking the long way, the arc, the perimeter. The wheel kick comes straight up the center and then turns over. Some pros and cons. Most people feel far more comfortable with a roundhouse kick. It feels more powerful. It feels more natural to just swing your leg this way. The wheel kick, however, does afford you more protection. By coming up the center, it keeps your groin covered, and it can be a little more difficult for the opponent to figure out what you're going to throw. Is it a front kick? Is it a wheel kick? You could kick this way. You could pop it over at the last second and come in at a different angle. So just realize that those differences exist, and we give them two distinct names, the roundhouse and the wheel kick. So there you have it for the basic kicks.